You're watching Profile, success stories of ordinary people just like you and me. Thank you for watching. Our next guest is an advocate in real estate. She has been recognized within the top 10% of agents in Greater Vancouver. She is here to share her inspiring journey to how she got there. Please help me welcome Sara Gillooly. Sara,
hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you. Now, I know you have a wonderful story that goes all the way back to, childhood days.
That's right.
And I want you to share with us your story because we want to inspire people. But let's go as far back as we can go.
For sure. So, I was born in former Yugoslavia, and now it's Croatia.
Okay.
My father's actually from the northern part of Africa. It's called Libya.
Okay.
So the dynamic was very, very different than most families.
Yeah.
We didn't have very many immigrants to Croatia at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So for my mother to have chosen a man that was very different culturally was a pretty significant thing.
Yeah.
And not everybody agreed. My parents really tried to work on the relationship, and they were together for a long time. Mm-hmm. And about 10 years into it, they had to call it quits. And at that time, I was 10 years old, and I was very, very happy about the split. Unlike, I think, some kids, I knew that there was tension and they couldn't go on. Mm-hmm. They actually became much better friends afterwards. Before they separated, mm-hmm. we immigrated over to Canada. We lived in Windsor, Ontario for a few years. Then we moved to here to BC. And my parents always struggled. They're both very smart, mm-hmm. And they're both very capable, but mm-hmm. coming in as immigrants, mm-hmm. you're handed a different hand. Your education might not be seen as valid mm-hmm. from the government. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of challenges with language barriers, mm-hmm. culturally. Mm-hmm. So we had quite a bit of challenges growing up. We moved a lot, mm-hmm. And not always for the better. Once they split up, my mother, and about a year after that, met my stepfather, mm-hmm. whose name is Dan. He's Canadian, mm-hmm. and he was actually in real estate. Mm-hmm. And my dad remarried a Libyan woman. And I just saw how different their lives were when they did this. Mm-hmm. My mother always said to me after that, she said, we're never going to move somewhere worse. We're always going to move for the better.
Right.
And that really kind of, still to this day, whenever I move, I'm always thinking, we have to move for the better. We're not going to move into something worse. We have to move, even if it's like this much up, that's what we do.
What was it like in Croatia?
Yeah, I have very little memories of Croatia at that time. I just remember always growing up in a family home with my grandparents. Mm-hmm. That family home is still around, and I always refer to it as my home. And my mom always says, well, we'll sell the family home, and I can't. Even though, I don't know what I would ever do with it, mm-hmm. I would never be able to let go of that home. My grandparents and my family there, it's a small community, it's a small little village, and most of my cousins still live around there, and they've raised their families there, so I've taken my daughter there. She's been there now 3 times. We go
wonderful
swimming. She meets everybody, and she's starting to learn Croatian as well, which is really important to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever spent any time in Africa?
I spent a little bit of time in Libya. So I have been there. In 2010 was the most memorable time. Mm-hmm. I spent over a month there with my family, and we're Berber people, mm-hmm. so we were more from the desert. And so my family had, a cave where my mm-hmm. grandfather used to live.
Right.
And I asked my aunts and uncles if I could go camping. So there was about, I think, 17 cousins and aunts all went camping for, just specifically for me, because mm-hmm. they said, well, this is something you wanted to experience. And I just wanted to see how it was to live in the desert for a few nights. So we did that, and it was pretty amazing. And mm-hmm. the history, the challenges, the history of the people there has been incredible. It is a thriving place. Mm-hmm. If you say that they're missing something, I wouldn't say that, but it's just different from what we're used to. So going there and just seeing the life there was definitely eye-opening, but I felt that, you know, with my aunts and uncles, they're a very strong bunch of people and they're together. So I think they were able to accomplish things that maybe others aren't able to. And for them, it was always very, very important to be educated. So they're all educated.
Growing up in Canada, you're learning the culture. What was the plan? What were you thinking of doing, becoming?
When I was younger, all I wanted, I mean I still do, is I just wanted friends. For me, the biggest motivation in my life was to be social, to be with people. So when I was younger, I always just, even learning English, both my parents didn't speak English. You know, I learned through television and through friends. And my mom said, you picked up English really quickly because I was so motivated to make friends.
Right.
And, you know, as I kind of grew older, I've always been really, really social and always wanted to be a part of the community. And maybe it's because I left my own community that I wanted, you know, the feeling of belonging. Yes. And then I met a wonderful young man by the name of Michael Caccioni, and he actually was a cancer survivor, and he created his own foundation. And now we were really young. This was actually middle school. And he was able to organize all his friends and the community to help support childhood cancer research. And I found that just so inspiring at such a young age.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. He passed away, but his legacy lives on so much. So even in high school, I was always, you know, a part of, whether it was like Cancer Research Club or playing baseball with children with needs. I would do like car washes. I would organize all these things just to, you know, send them money, because every time I felt that I gave back, I felt a return of something greater. I had my own charity for a while as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it was demining, so landmines in Croatia, which are still left from the war.
Oh.
Yeah, there's about 2 million left in Croatia. Most people don't know because a lot of Croatians don't, or the Croatian government doesn't want to scare the tourists away.
Yes.
Because they're not usually in tourist areas. So, you know, it's not something talked about, but we have generated some funds and some momentum towards that.
What did you study in school, by the way? You said you went to university.
Yes, I went to the University of British Columbia and I studied political science with a minor in international relations. So I was, you know, in that trajectory to go into politics, to go into, you know, international affairs. And I loved it, and I don't regret a minute of it, because even to this day, it just helps you think differently and question things differently. And, you know, I joined sororities, I joined the International Relations Students Association.
Nice.
I worked so tirelessly with all these different issues. I was offered a job at the United Nations, an internship, at the United Nations, with a women's organization, the International Federation of University Women. So I went to work with women's rights issues at the General Assembly in Geneva. And again, it was an incredible experience. I worked with the International Peace Bureau, and I got to go to Oslo in Norway and sign the treaty to ban cluster bombs, which are little bomblets in a big bomb that kind of act like landmines. So it was a pretty amazing experience, and I got to meet all these wonderful people and just see how interconnected we actually all are. And you just see how small the world actually is and how all of us can and do affect one another. I came home and I was kind of at a loss for things to do. And my stepfather, I remember, sat down with me and said, Sarah, he's like, I know you want to make a difference in people's lives. And I said, I do. He's like, well, what about real estate? Why don't you work with me and see how much of a difference you can make? And why don't you tailor your business so that you make that difference in people's lives? And I said, okay. So
you were excited about it?
Well, I wasn't, I think, yeah. You know, I was skeptical. And when I first started, I worked as an assistant, and I did a lot of that. I did a few things before I settled. I think I was pretty young, and I didn't want such a serious job, because this is a very serious job.
Because you work for yourself, essentially.
Yes, I've always worked for myself. I didn't want to be just a numbers person. Yes, it's great to be in the top 10%. Yes, it's great to be in the top 1%. But what does that actually mean in translation? For me, it was really, always have been really important that I have a great impact. You know, whether it's helping that family move from a different city to Vancouver in a quick timeline where, you know, they feel comfortable and they're so happy now. Where it's, you know, having that single girl that's renting for 10 years, but now she's ready to buy. Whatever that looks like, I want to be there, and I want to make sure that that person's not scared. I want you to feel comfortable, because it is it's one of the biggest things that most people will be investing in, right? And that is a scary, emotional time. It's so important to have somebody that you can just trust, that you don't feel like, oh, they're just trying to sell me something for the sake of selling me something, right?
Listening to you up to now, I hear passion in your voice, from whatever you're doing, you know, humanitarian work, real estate work. It's all passion, because you're thinking about the next person. And I realize that others have seen that in you too. As a result, you have been awarded, you know, within the top 10% of agents in Greater Vancouver. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing. What does it take to get such an award?
Well, a lot of hard work.
Of course.
A lot of hard work and believing in yourself, honestly. So, you know, you not only have to work super hard, have people behind you that support you. You know, my husband, my daughter, she's little, but she's still a big support. Like when I say to her, I need to go show houses, Mommy needs to go here, she will go. Sometimes she'll complain. But the other day, it was really cute. She goes to me, okay, she's like, I'm your assistant. So the clients came in, and she goes, I would like to show you this. And she brought my clients over and showed them the deck of the house. Because she just knows that's, you know, this is what Mommy does. And we support Mommy. And, you know, my husband supports me all the time too. You know, we work quite closely together. So having a really good support network, especially as a working mom, I think is amazing.
But being where you are, I'm sure there are a lot of challenges along the way, you know.
For sure,
yes.
For sure.
What are some of the challenges you have overcome?
When I was in school and studying and a part of the UN as well, I found it challenging just to be a female that wanted to do a lot. That didn't want to just have, I love kids and I always wanted kids, but I didn't always just want that. People judge you based on how you look all the time. So, I mean, I have a business card from 4 years ago, a picture. Yes, I look pretty in the business card. However, people will be like, oh, you look a lot older. And you're like, why do you care what I look like in my business? I was really not wanting a picture anyways.
It does.
I'm 100% a feminist. And when you tell me you're not a feminist, I'm like, how dare you? I think everybody should be a feminist. For a lot of people, feminism is, you know, empowering women only. But no, I find it's empowering both, all genders, whether female, male, or anything, right? I think it's really, really important that we as a society realize that we have this untapped potential called a female. And using them has been proven over and over and over again that societies will grow and flourish with females, educated females working. They will, you know, go from struggling families to thriving families.
Well said. You have a family. You run a small business.
That's right.
You know, self-employed. You have a family, have a daughter, husband. It's supposed to be challenging, right? Do you feel like you need like 60 hours in a day? How do you find balance?
I'm finding I had to grow my business, which is always scary when you have to hire people, maybe delegate some tasks. Fortunately for myself, I have found a great hire. So that was the biggest step for me. And I always thought, by hiring someone, I would put my whole family at risk because I'm no longer maybe providing them with financial means because now I have to give it to somebody else. And that was really scary for me to do. Until I realized, well, no, my family not only needs financially me to be there, but they also need me to be there. Sundays I try to finish by around 2 or 3 o'clock so then I can go and have a bike ride with my family or, you know, cook a meal together. I don't cook, that's a lie. But, you know, we do it together and then it seems okay. But it's
team effort.
Right?
Teamwork.
Teamwork, yeah. Together we're going to order the pizza. But, you know, even with my daughter, I'll pick her, I pick her up from school. We'll go to the park. Then sometimes she has activities after. But I always want to make sure that, you know, we're engaging, we're having fun. And right now we have a pretty long commute. But me and my daughter sit in the car and we get to chat.
Yes.
And it's been a connecting point because in the mornings normally I'm just trying to get her ready as quickly as possible and get her out the door and make sure, you know, she has lunch and she has everything ready.
Are you where you'd like to be in life?
Great question. No. No, I never feel accomplished. And I'm not I don't know if I ever will be. And that's my honest answer. I have a goal and I'll get that goal and then I'll say to myself, I'll celebrate it. I'll really try to celebrate it. But I'll say, oh, I didn't do enough. I have to try harder. If you ask my husband, it's very annoying. But it's just something that how I'm built. I could have stayed in my industry, head down, kept going. But I'm like, no, I need to do more. I need to involve the community. No, I need to, you know, fundraise for this. No, I need to, you know, I feel really accomplished, not by a title that somebody has given me, to be honest, but just by the response I get from people. And that's my biggest takeaway.
So what's next for you? What does the next, say, 10 years, 5-10 years look for you?
I've always wanted to open up my own office. So whether I would stay with RE/MAX or, you know, move on. So right now I'm at RE/MAX All Points, which I love. But I would love to, you know, have my own office and have people working with me that I can mentor and that can also grow in the industry and become the agents that you want to work with.
Yes.
I'm a team leader.
Yeah.
I find it great when people have the capacity to grow by themselves. And then I'm also pretty creative and I love design. I love to go into a really old house. This is like my favorite thing. And my mom and my stepfather did this too. They went into old homes and they would renovate them and make them look spectacular. And so I love that process too. You know, you get to express yourself a little bit more creatively. Of course, just having, you know, a nice home for my child to always grow up in and not move so much. So that's a really important thing for me. And take more vacations and see our family. Our family, unfortunately or fortunately, is all around the world. So for us to see them, we have to. You know, we have to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks to go and see them, and I want to be able to do that a little bit more. My goal is to, you know, build something more than just me. So I have people surrounding me that can also carry that torch.
We need more people like you. We do. We need, because a lot of people, they need help. They're struggling, especially in this time when they are being bombarded by information from all sources. They are being pressured. You know, you talk about it a little about, I'm talking about, say, social media now. You know, you have to have a certain image and all of that. They are being challenged. Do you deal with people, young people who are going through these challenges? They're trying to find themselves. They're trying to find their identity to survive in this world today. You know, what's your message for them?
Really, I think because we have constantly been told this is how we have to look, this is how we have to act. I think we really sometimes need to reset that and to step back and be like, okay, who am I? And why am I doing this? Yes, we all have social media, and this is part of life now. But to allow it to dictate how we live, I think it becomes a really dangerous thing. And I think that when we try to mold into something that we're not, that's when people become uncomfortable with who we're portraying. Yeah. So for all those young people out there, just be you, and we will love you. Sometimes we're closed books, and to open that book up completely is really hard for us to do. Yeah. And I'm happy, to talk about it as much as I can, but sometimes you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable because we're so vulnerable, and being vulnerable in front of others is definitely hard.
Can I say something on that though?
Yes, please.
I understand the vulnerability, and sometimes we are thinking, how would people receive my story?
That's right.
Well, one of the things I've realized is that we are more alike than we are different. And what I've found is that our stories, people can relate to it. Yes. At the end of the day, people can relate. They're like, I'm going through that too.
That's right. I love things like this that you're doing, because it's really showing people's experience where, you might think, oh, I know her. Yes. But you don't know them. Yeah. And you see, from where people have come and how hard they've had to work to get there.
And also your message, they're like, whoa, this is the answer I've been looking for. And that is one of the reasons why I always want people to share their story, because there's someone who's going to say thank you. You have done something on Facebook that caught my attention. Oh. You reached out to a community.
Yes.
And asked them, hey, I'll support you. Yeah. I will promote you. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So, to me, I was thinking during Black Lives Matter movement, especially, what can I do, right?
Okay.
I'm not Black. What can I do for that community?
Okay.
And I struggled with it. And I thought, growing up in the 90s in Canada, we were always told, you don't see color, you just kind of, move on, right? So I don't see color. You're like, okay, what does that mean? Actually, no, it's important to recognize color. I want the Black community to be lifted. And I think it's really important to do that. So in my head, I was like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I've been, thinking about this for a while. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I do what I do? I want to promote other people. Why don't I just say I'm promoting Black entrepreneurs like yourself? Every time I've done that, and I've gone down that more difficult path, which this is not difficult, by the way. But when you go through those things, you come out of it on the other side better. And if I can promote you, that's amazing. We would have never connected. It's one of those things where, you try and you have to see how much what you're doing is actually affecting people. And if it's not affecting change, you need to look back and say, okay, how can I do more, or how can I help in a different way that's going to help?
Because at the end of the day, you want to help people.
That's right.
That's a goal.
That's right.
You want to make sure people are being helped. What profile aims to do is this. It says, ordinary people inspiring our ordinary people. Because what I found is that ordinary people have the answers. I want to create mentors. Yes. Right? And I realize it's in all of us. It's in you. Right? And that is why I bring you here today, to use you to say, let's mentor some people. People need mentorship, but they don't know that they need mentorship, and they don't know how to go get it.
That's true. Do you feel like with mentorship you have to change?
What change do we need to make? Right? Yeah. What change do we need to make? And let's make it.
You definitely sound like you're taking that difficult road, right? To do what the right thing at the end of that road is. And I really appreciate it. And thank you again for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for coming. And thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Thanks.
Keep being an advocate
Thank you. You
for
too.
better.
You too.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
And I'm sure you will inspire someone today.
I hope so.
Thank you. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.